Hi everyone, it's Evelyn. And every year in my cut flower beds, I trial new flowers because A, that keeps it interesting and stops me from getting static in how I'm creating bouquets throughout the course of the cut flower season. And I had much more success this year than failures, unlike previous years where I've had more failures than successes. So it's been a really good year for that. We're going to go over all the ones I trialed in 2024 and how I liked them, how I used them, or if I didn't like them, some of them I didn't use at all because I just didn't like them. Now, and I'll say why I didn't like them. The first one we're going to do, we're just going to start going through them via the alphabet, and alliums begin with the letter A, so we're going to start with alliums. Now, I grew 3 different alliums this year, and the first one we're going to talk about is I have my computer here, so I'm going to look at the screen so I can get all the names and everything right, is the Ambassador Allium, and I'll put it up here. Ambassador Allium started blooming pretty much around the beginning of June for me. It is a 7-inch diameter cluster of little tiny purple flowers. I would say the flowers were actually a little bit darker than they're showing in the photo. And I found them really, really useful because let's face it, at the beginning of June, there is not that much blooming yet. So it really gave that sort of punch at a time when there wasn't a lot of flowers that had punch. And it paired really nicely with the Globemaster Allium, which I'll put up on the screen as well with it. You'll see how different they look in color. They're not that different in color. They're very, very similar in color. I would say this photo was taken of the Globemaster in shade, and the Ambassador was taken in sunshine, and that's why there's such a difference in the way they look. Now, the Globemaster is a 10-inch diameter allium, and it comes online right about the time that the Ambassador is finishing. So it was almost like I had that large sphere of allium growing for a longer period of time because there's very little difference between them. So what they did was give me a really nice long season for those big, beautiful globes of purple flowers. And how I use them in bouquets is we'll look at this first bouquet. In the beginning, because it was at the beginning of June, this particular bouquet was made on June 6th. As you can see, I paired them with peonies and ranunculus. Ranunculus is the one white, sort of almost rose-like looking flower there. And the peonies are on opposite sides. They're the pale pink and the darker pink. I have them here with kale flowers, which I also like using in the spring because kale flowers, again, are blooming when not much else is. For foliage, I have the darker green is snowberry branches, and then I have some, I never remember the name of that maple leaf. Again, I'm going to have to put the name of that up on the screen. I always have to because I can never remember what it's called. Anyway, there's that limey green maple leaf down on one side, and that's what I've got for foliage in this bouquet. So that's a June 6th bouquet. This next bouquet I'm going to show you was on June 10th. Now at this time I appear to have foxgloves starting to bloom. So it's paired with the same things. It's got a peony down at the bottom. It's got a white ranunculus with it. It's got the snowberry branches. It's got parsley umbels, which is sort of the coming out the top with a flat sort of disc of a green. That's parsley umbels. And then of course the long lavender spike of the foxglove, where the bells are open near the bottom and closed near the top. Behind that one particular allium, which I believe will be, I don't know if it's an Ambassador or a Globemaster, to tell you the truth. I don't know which is which in my photos. That's how much they look the same. Is an Atropurpureum. Is that right? Is that an Atropurpureum? Yes, it is. Allium poking off up to the one side as well. It has a flatter bottom, and what you can't see in this photo is that particular allium, which I had from the previous years, has some green in amongst those little tiny little purple flowers that form the disc. So there's much more green in that mass of purple flowers, whereas there's no green at all in the Ambassador or the Globemaster. So the third allium that I trialed for this year is called Hair, and I'll put a picture of it up on the screen now. It is a really, really tiny allium. It is so funky and so much fun and looks like it's had electric current running through it that's zapped it. I was really excited to try it out because I thought it would add a lot of real cool interest in the bouquets, and it did, as you can see in this particular bouquet where I've got it paired with probably a Globe Master, because now we're down to June 23rd. So we're definitely down where the Ambassadors will have finished and the Globe Masters will have started. And I've got a black button, bachelor button, popping out the top on one side, that hair oleum on the other side for that really cool texture. Farther off to the side, again, we have parsley umbels, and then we have the snapdragons collaring around the Globe Master oleum that's perched a little lower down in the center. So those are the 3 alliums that I trialed this year. Love all 3. I'm more than happy to have them growing again next year. I may consider, not this year, because I would have had to have placed my order to increase the amount of alliums I had before they were even blooming this year, so I didn't increase my order. But there's a good chance when I place my wholesale order this spring in late April that I will probably add some more alliums into that order to increase my stock. So after the allium, we are going to move on to, oh, went backwards in my pictures, hang on. We're going to move on to an anemone that was new for me this year, and that's the rainbow blue or blueberry allium. And I thought I'd really like it because of that purple center on it. And I didn't actually like it at all. So I have it. I will grow it again, because even though I probably won't use it in bouquets, I do sell flowers in pop cans, and I'll just put a picture up of what the pop cans look like. Now, unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of pop cans really with alliums in them. These ones are all full of dahlias, but it sort of gives you the idea of how I sell my flowers in pop cans. So this, for the size of the anemones, there would be 3 in a pop can. And I will continue to sell the blueberry anemones in those. But honestly, it was not, I didn't gravitate to it at all, which again really surprised me, because I thought that I thought the blue center was really exciting. So I was excited to grow it. And then it was it was okay. Nothing too special. There was other anemones that I definitely much preferred. So after we do anemones, we're going to skip straight from A to D, and we are going to talk about the dahlias that I trialed out for this year. Before we get on to the dahlias that I trialed for this year for the first time, I mean, I've grown dahlias for 6 years, but every year I try out a few new ones to see if I want to add them into the roster. And then those that I'm not particularly excited about that I've grown in the past years, I fade those out as I fade the ones I'm more excited in. But before we talk about them, if you're enjoying this video and you'd like to see more of this type of video, please consider subscribing. Really appreciate it. We'd love to have you become part of our flower family. Now let's get on to the dahlias. The first dahlia that I'm going to talk about is Arabian Nights, and I really thought I would love Arabian Nights. Sorry for this if you can hear it, the sound of, I believe that's a table saw downstairs. We're still working on our kitchen. It's almost complete. I'll just pop up a quick picture of how our kitchen is turning out, and then we'll get on to the Arabian Nights. So the Arabian Nights I thought I would love, and it wasn't one that excited me either. And it's because I have the larger dinner plate dahlias in that color, Spartacus, and I use it a lot. It is one of my favorite ones to use. But I realized that because of the larger petals, the sun hits it and will make it a little bit translucent towards the end, so you get a lot more undulation in that deep dark red. But with the Arabian Nights, the petals are much, much smaller because it's a much, much smaller flower head. And because of that, it doesn't get as much play in light to dark within the flower, and it's a much smaller flower. I think the flower heads were only about, I don't have the size on this picture here, were only about 4 or 5 inches in diameter. And when I used them in bouquets, as you can see in this picture that I'm about to put up, it actually creates quite a dark spot in the bouquet. So it doesn't lend much to the bouquet to enhance its look. I find that that dark spot actually kind of detracts. It kind of makes you want to look at it like a black hole. So as much as that is my favorite color in flowers, I don't think the Arabian Nights is one that I'm going to do anything other than phase out and look for different dahlias to replace that with. Now my dahlias grow separately than the rest of my cut flowers, so if I phase out a dahlia, another one will take its place. This particular bouquet was taken in September. You can almost always tell my September bouquets because they have the snowberries in them. I should point this way because that's where the picture is on the screen. This is where my computer is. The snowberries are still blooming now, what are we at? We're at October 21st today. But we've had so much rain. In fact, we had a Category 3 atmospheric river travel through here on Friday, which was really intense with some road flooding and definitely river swelling. You may have seen some of the pictures of the Lower Mainland with Vancouver, etc., and the flooding that they had. But yeah, the snowberries are basically all mush now because of all the rain that we've been having, which is unfortunate. We are a rainy climate, so can really only use the snowberries while we're still in the dry season. September tends to be drier. October tends to get wet. November, December, January, very wet. So this next bouquet, you can also see it in there with it, and it's paired with other dahlias that are approximately the same size of it. We've got Edinburgh, the purple one to the left of it. We've got a gold light sunflower to the right of it. There's an AC Loomis dinner plate poking down to the side. A red lemon sunflower just above that. We've got some dry Distilbe in there. We've got a Costa Silver snapdragon above it, and poking up the top is a rose bonbon double click cosmos. But again, you look at this, there's a lot of other darker colors in it, but they still have life and movement, unlike the Arabian Nights decorative dahlia, which just makes this dark, deep red blotch, for want of another word. And I'm not finding that I think that it enhances a bouquet in any way. So yeah, that was really disappointing to me personally, because I love that color, but I couldn't make it more useful within my bouquets. I did use it in the pop, or I am still using it in the pop cans, but even now that we're past the middle of October and our daylight hours are really reduced, the stems on the Arabian Nights have gotten really, really thin, so they're not holding up the head of the Arabian Night as well as they were in the summer, especially when they're wet. So even in the pop cans, I'm finding that it will be one of the last ones that I will use from harvesting for the day, because it has a habit of dropping its head now in the pop cans. So that's unfortunate. Now the next the next decorative dahlia that I trialed this year was a ball dahlia called Bolt. And it was complete. I have a decorative dahlia called French Louis Mayer, which I'll put up as well. And it is the same color as the French Louis Mayer, but the textures are completely different. And unlike the Arabian Nights, they really do reflect light on them. So they did look really, really good in bouquets, although I didn't use them in bouquets until the fall. Mainly because I pair my dahlias with sunflowers, and that bright yellow doesn't pair well with the sunflowers that I grew this year. I will remedy that next year when I grow some plum sunflowers. It should look good with that. It has a really nice strong stem. It was really prolific in blooms on the one tuber that I purchased and planted. I'm still getting quite a few flower heads off of that. So it's definitely a winner, and I will increase my stock on that. I may not buy another one, just take whatever. I probably won't. The tubers should multiply to more than one. I should get 2 or 3 plants out of that. And that's definitely one that I really, really enjoyed using. You can see it here in this bouquet. It's dead center. It's got 3 Cornell bronzes sort of cupping underneath it. It's got laurel leaves splaying out around it. It's got a rose bonbon double click cosmos above against more dry Distilbe, and a snow puff cosmos off to the side as well. Now this photo was taken, oh, I didn't put the date on it, but this would have been taken in October, because if you see no more snowberries and you see dry Distilbe, that's because it's an October bouquet, same as the last one. So then we have Beautiful. Now, Beautiful, I am really excited about. I thought I would like it because of the color. It's quite different than anything else that I had grown. It is a decorative dahlia. The flower head is about 6 inches. It is true to the color that you see in this picture over here. And when you see it in a bouquet, such as this one that I took on September 22nd, you can see that it has quite a bit of drama within it. even though it's paired with a lot of pale colors. It's got the Snow Puff Double Click Cosmos, it's got the Costa Silver Snapdragons, the Snowberries up the top. There is what looks like a Thomas Edison dinner plate in the shadows down below off to the other side. And it looks like there's a red lemon sunflower off to the side up above it, where you can just sort of see the back of it. The drama of the Beautiful, I think, is just really, really cool. And that's another one that I'm definitely going to increase my stock off. I was really, really happy with that one. Here it is, another bouquet that was taken on October 6th. Excuse me. It's got Snow Puff Double Click Cosmos. It's got a red lemon sunflower beside it. It's got what looks like an orange sunflower on the other side of it. It looks like it has one Costa Silver Snapdragon in there. Dried stilby fronds, as well as some dried poppy pods. And that drama of that beautiful decorative dahlia really adds a lot of nice punchy color to an otherwise, again, very neutral bouquet. So very, very happy with the Beautifuls. Another dahlia that I trialed out for the first time this year is Cafe au Lait Rose. And it's stunning, and it's another color that I don't have. It, of course, is a bigger dahlia with a 9-inch bloom. It's a dinner plate, and the light really reflects off of those rose petals so that it appears to have a lot more different depths of color in it, and the light really just plays so nicely of it. I love that. That's another one I'm going to increase in the amount that I have for next year. You can see I've got it paired here with some orange sunflowers. There's a espresso gladiola coming out the one side. It's got purple marjoram sort of capping around the top of the Cafe au Lait Rose. It's got green poppy pods and laurel leaves, and this photo was taken on October 16th. Just love that dahlia. And here it is again. There's a couple of them. It's got both the Snow Puff as well as the Rose Bonbon Double Click Cosmos. It's got a couple of orange sunflowers, some more Costa Silver Snapdragons, the laurel leaves, and I think that's it for what's in this bouquet, and this particular bouquet was taken on September 20th. So now we're going to talk about another ball dahlia that I trialed, which is Sweet Fabian. Again, I love it. At the beginning of the season, I wasn't sure whether I liked it or Wizard of Oz better. Wizard of Oz is another ball dahlia. It's a lighter pink and a slightly smaller flower. Now in the spring, the color difference between the Wizard of Oz and the Sweet Fabian wasn't huge. But now, third week of October, the Wizard of Oz are all basically white with just a hint of pink in them. So they might as well be just a white ball dahlia. Whereas the Sweet Fabian has kept its color. So it is the only pink ball dahlia that I have right now. However, it's not as prolific as Wizard of Oz, but it doesn't matter, because if I want the pink ball dahlia, I don't have the choice of the two. I only have the choice of the one. Wizard of Oz has now become a choice between it and Petra's Wedding for a white ball dahlia. So that's quite interesting. And so for that reason, I really, really love Sweet Fabian, because of how much it has kept its color in for October, while Wizard of Oz hasn't. And October is still a good cut flower season for me, obviously, because we haven't had our first killing frost yet, and I'm still cutting them every morning, and I'm still selling bouquets. So yeah, love Sweet Fabian. I will grow more of those next year. And the Wizard of Oz, which is not a new one, I won't grow more of next year. If I need to, I might not cut it back though. I might cut back on the Petra's Wedding a little, because as a white ball dahlia, the Wizard of Oz right now in the fall has a much stronger stem than the Petra's Wedding, which, like the Arabian Nights, the deep red decorative dahlia that I trialed, has really gotten a thin stem in October, and Petra's Wedding is doing the same. So that's an interesting thing that I have to think about, because the Wizard of Oz I can use as the pink flower right up until fall, and then I have to use it as a white one. So before, it was a play between it and Sweet Fabian, which is the one up here, and earlier, and now it's a play between it and Petra's Wedding. So it's a little confusing. So the Petra's Wedding, again, you know, I use mostly the decoratives and the ball dahlias in the pop cans throughout the course of the summer. But now as we get into late October, with really, really short daylight hours, a lot of rain, getting into the windy season, they're not as prolific, the plants. So there are some days where I don't have dinner plates to use in bouquets and only ball dahlia or decorative dahlias. So the ball dahlias and the decorative dahlias are becoming much more important to use in bouquets at this time of year. That said, I still use them earlier on in the season. For example, this bouquet was taken on July 22nd, and I've got the Sweet Fabian paired with an Arabian Nights down around the side, but I've got it with mophead hydrangeas whose names I don't know up around the top with it, and parsley umbels. So in this next bouquet, you can see I've got the Sweet Fabian paired with a Cornell bronze below it, and then firelight hydrangeas off to the sides, and this bouquet was taken on August 5th. So the next dahlia that we're going to talk about that I trowel is called Yarra Falls. Yarra Falls is a really, really interesting dahlia. I didn't actually buy it on purpose. I had ordered tartan, and they didn't send me tartan. I had ordered 8, because that's what you have to order for a minimum quantity from my wholesaler. And all 8 of them ended up being Yarra Falls, and that ended up to be a happy accident because I really like it. But aside from the fact that I love that two-tone of the red and the white, there's other things that I love about it, and that is that it has so many different looks to it. It is a real chameleon. Now, I thought I had all the chameleon looks figured out until we got into October with the really reduced daylight hours, because not only is there less daylight hours during the day, but with all the rain and heavy cloud, that reduces the amount of sun even more. And I'll go through the summer colors that it looks like, and then after I've done those ones, you'll see what it's looking like now, which is even more different. So for this first bouquet, it's the standard, mostly red with the white tips. It's a dinner plate dahlia, and it's a 9-inch diameter bloom. And I've got paired here with Spartacus at the top, some white light or night sunflowers on either side, purple marjoram, poppy pods, and one of the poppies is still actually blooming. And it is its standard look that you normally see in catalogs, etc. And it looks great. It looks fabulous. But then, if you look at this bouquet, it's much lighter in color. It's got a much paler red with still the white tips. So that's interesting. This particular bouquet was taken on September 29th, so I think it's because we're into the end of September. The red has started to go paler in this one versus the other photo that was taken on August 1st, so we're almost 2 months later in this one. So we've got a much paler red with the white tips. This bouquet has orange sunflowers, a Costa Silver snapdragon, 1 rose bonbon double click cosmo off to the one side that you can barely see, as well as a snow puff double click cosmo poking out the top. And there is laurel leaves in there as well. The other thing you'll notice in this one particular Yarra Falls is a number of the red petals do not have white tips on them. So then, in this particular bouquet, which was taken on August 4th, the Yarra Falls is showing very, very little red at all, and the red that it is showing has a very purpley tone to it, and a lot more white within those petals. So it almost looks like a completely different dahlia. Well, it does look like a completely different dahlia, but it's not. It's still Yarra Falls. It's paired with the gold light sunflowers, poppy pods, and purple marjoram, and of course the laurel leaves. But now, when we get into October, and this particular picture was taken on October 19th, look how orangey brown the Yarra Falls look. It doesn't have a strong red to it at all anymore. It's definitely gotten much more, it's like a earthy brown, like a sienna almost. It's completely different in its color than it had been earlier on in the season. Here it's paired with Cornell bronze, a white Petra's Wedding, which I had talked about earlier, the dried astilbe, the dried poppy pods, the laurel leaves, And that is a Park M dahlia that's poking out the other side, which is interesting because if you watch my top 10 dahlia videos, this is actually quite interesting. I was saying that I'm dropping it for next year because the plants are too short and I can't ever use it in bouquets because the stems aren't long enough. Well, wouldn't you know it, as soon as I said that, they decided to all of a sudden grow a lot taller. But actually what happened was we hit the rainy weather and the cooler weather, and for some reason with the cooler weather and the rainier weather, they almost doubled in size overnight. It was quite amazing. So now I can use them in bouquets, which is very, very strange indeed. So that's it for the dahlias that I trialed this year. We're now going to talk about glads. So I only trialed one gladiola this year, and that was espresso. I've never grown gladiolas before at all. This was a new to me experiment. I loved the glads that bloomed. I started them indoors and I planted successions just over the course of 2 weeks. Like I planted a few each day just to try and expand the season a bit. That didn't work out at all. In fact, the ones that bloomed over the course of, I believe, 3 months. So doing the succession blooming over 2 weeks made no difference. They still successioned over 3 months. So they just bloomed when they wanted. And I really didn't get, I planted 80 corms. And, you know, I think I only got about a dozen blooming. So in that regard, it was a real failure, which was really disappointing because I really liked these glads. I loved the deep purpley red again of them. It's just a stunning color. So here you can see in this particular bouquet, I've taken this picture on August 13th. Now I planted the glads. I started the succession planting mid-March. So March, April, May, June, July, August. This glad bloomed 5 months later. I don't know what's going on with my glads, why they took so much longer to bloom than they were supposed to, and why they didn't succession over 14 days. Instead, they successioned over 3 months. Very, very strange indeed. But anyway, that's what they did. And the ones that bloomed, I was really excited about. I loved using them. I paired it here with my Spartacus, excuse me, dinner plate dahlia. You can see the colors are very, very similar, but the textures are totally different. The dahlia is big and round, and the gladiola is, of course, tall and narrow. So even though they're the same color range, the textures and the shape of them are so different that they bounce off of each other and play with each other really, really nicely while creating a lot of interest. I've got them paired with orange sunflowers and purple marjoram and laurel leaves. So as I said, this picture was taken on August 13th. The next bouquet I'm going to show you with an espresso gladiola was taken on September 16th. So here I've got it paired with the snowberries. I've got Costa Silver snapdragons, an orange sunflower, and a red lemon sunflower, as well as laurel leaves. And again, it just plays so nicely with all the other flowers, even though they are either contrasting colors, opposite side of the color wheel, or just really, really pale colors and all sorts of different shapes and things. I really, really enjoyed using this particular glad color in almost anything that I paired it with. This next bouquet I'm going to show you was actually taken on October 6th. So here, it is interesting. You can see it's later in the year because that deep red is starting to almost look like it's a little frosted. It's losing a little bit of its depth and is getting a little bit of almost grayed shades in it, which is really quite interesting, but that kind of fits in with October. So anyway, here it's paired with dried astilbe. I've got some rose bonbon cosmos in there, some sunflowers, Costa Silver snapdragon or two, and laurel leaves again as well. So you can see my recipes all base around the same thing depending on the month, but depending what the focus are, the bouquet looks quite a bit different each time. So that's what I'm going to talk about for the glads. I may trial some different ones next year, but I'll just buy a pack or two retail because I wasn't happy with having to buy 80 corms wholesale and getting such a low production out of them. So I'll try a couple of retail packages, see if the production rate on them is as low, and I'll trial them in different colors just so I have a few other things to experiment with. But we're now going to talk about hydrangeas. So up until this year, the only hydrangeas I had were some that were in pots, which produce really small flowers, and I quite liked using them. But I went out, well, it's still in a pot, but I went out this year in, I believe it was in August. Let me just double check here. Yeah, August. And I bought a firelight hydrangea because I had seen it in a number of videos online on YouTube. I can't remember what videos I was watching. And it really intrigued me. So when my local Campbell River Garden Center brought in their shiploads of hydrangeas to sell, I went there to see what they had. And I bought this particular firelight hydrangea. I thought it was just beautiful with its pinks and whites, because here where I live on the West Coast, we have acidic soil. So most hydrangeas are blue, not pink. So to have one that would bloom pink is unusual in our climate, versus in other areas with lime soil where they all bloom pink, and having a blue one would be unusual. So this pink and white is very unusual for our climate. So I really enjoyed that. And this first bouquet I'm going to show you was taken on August 5th, and I've got it paired with the purple marjoram, as well as the gold light sunflowers and laurel leaves and green poppy pods. And I like the way the white and the pink have such a lot of movement and texture in them, much the same way as the purple marjoram does. So there isn't this real solid mass of color with them. There isn't like an overabundance of pink. There's just so much movement and so much layers to the color that it really gives a lot of visual interest as well as a lot of textural interest. So I really enjoyed making this particular bouquet with it, as well as this one. Now here, the firelight hydrangea appears quite softer the way it's paired with the gold light sunflowers and the purple marjoram. I've actually got my Canary Brilliance peony in this bouquet. I've shown this bouquet before because it was taken on August 6th, and I had a second flush of that peony blooming, which was just like, what? So I seem to showcase it a lot just because it's got a peony blooming in this bouquet in August, even though we're talking about the hydrangea. But I love the way, again, it looks in this bouquet. It ties in nicely with the softness of that Canary Brilliance peony, as well as the harshness of the gold light sunflower and the delicacy of the purple marjoram. Now, in this particular bouquet, which was, this photo was taken on September 2nd. If the photo was taken on that day, that's the day the bouquet was made. I've just got it paired with a white light and a white night sunflower, as well as some Snow Puff Double Click Cosmos, some Costa Silver Snapdragons, and some laurel leaves are in there somewhere. Oh, wait a minute, I've got a dahlia in there up top. Look, that dahlia, that has to be a labyrinth, is almost exactly the same color as the now darkened in tone firelight hydrangea. As the season progressed, that pale pink and white started to darken to a deep rose, which slowly started turning brown, and now it just looks like mush out in the garden. Because of the rain, the hydrangea blooms don't hold up well in the fall. So that was another successful one, but now we're going to move on to another one that was not successful, and that was my Frizzle Sizzle pansies, which I decided to trial because they're supposed to have 16-inch stems. Well, I was lucky if I got 2-inch stems. I tried them in the sun, I tried them in the shade, I tried them sun and shade in the garden, in the soil, sun and shade in pots. They were a waste of time. Absolute waste of time for me to grow, and I will absolutely not be growing those again, and no pictures to show for you of what those looked like. Then I trialed, even though they're not a flower, you could consider them to be kind of a flower. They started off as a flower, mini pumpkins. I had seen on Phaedra's Garden Nest that she used mini pumpkins in bouquets last year, so I thought I'd try that. Now, she used a different way of putting them into bouquets that I didn't want to do. I wanted to have a more natural way of trialing them out in bouquets. She used a florist product, which is somehow a plastic stem and a big round plastic cup, and then she put glue in there and then stuck the pumpkin in that. I didn't want to have to do that. That goes against my organically grown bouquet kind of thing, to have plastic and glue in a bouquet. But anyway, so I grew these are the baby boo pumpkins. I decided to do this late in the season. So I never got a full-size Baby Boo white pumpkin. They were only ended up being about this big. But I actually didn't like the look of the white pumpkins. I don't think I would have used them in bouquets anyway. I think that, yeah, I thought, even at that size, I thought, I don't like the way they would look in a bouquet. That's just too much of a white spot. Didn't like them. They got a lot of slug damage when they were that small because of all the rain that we've been getting. So I don't think I'll be doing those again. I also tried Jack B. Little miniature pumpkins, which I did like, even though I only got one. And I liked that in a bouquet. In fact, last week my video was how to DIY a natural stem for pumpkin to use them in bouquets. So this is 7 days later, and here's the same bouquet. I haven't untied it. I was just trialing it out. So here's the pumpkin. Still looks really, really good. You can see it underneath here. Whoops. There's no softness or age to this pumpkin the way that I did it. It still looks really, really good in the bouquet. My dinner plate dahlias are still holding up really nicely. The dinner plate dahlias still look fantastic at 6 days because we're now 7 days over. We're now at 7 days. They're just, why is my hand dirty? They're just starting to get a little soft at the back of that Spartacus. There's blue to full. It looks perfectly fine. It's my labyrinth that is looking a little bit old at the back now on its 7th day. There's French Louis Mayer. He's holding up well. There's Snow Princess. She's holding up well. Petra's Wedding holding up well. Of course, the dried stuff is holding up well, even although on the bottom of the dried stems, they're starting to get a little bit soft. But the bouquet is still looking great 7 days later, and the pumpkin's looking fantastic. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. And I'm going to definitely be growing Jack B. Little miniature pumpkins again next year. So after that, I was going to put up a picture of the bouquet, but I just showed it to you, so I don't need to put a picture up. I tried a new ranunculus this year, and it's just called Yellow. Hated it. Absolutely hated it. Couldn't stand it. The shade of yellow was just one that I just did not like. I didn't use any of them. I just ignored them in the garden. I really, really didn't like them at all. That's a lie. I used them in the pop cans just because I don't like something doesn't mean somebody else won't like it, but I completely ignored it for the possibility of using it in bouquets. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to even bother growing that one again. I'll probably sell off the corms. So then we went on to snapdragons. So snapdragons is really interesting. Up until this year, this year, even at this year, at the beginning of this year, snapdragons made my list of, oh, I've got a dog here that's trying to squeeze up here. Snapdragons made my list of flowers that I won't be growing again. That said, last year, one of the snapdragons that I grew was New Orleans Yellow, and I did like that one. So I decided I was going to grow that one again, but all the other ones that I had trialed last year, there was just no way. But I decided to break down and trial some other new ones because everybody loves snapdragons. So I figured there's got to be some snapdragons out there that I like. So I decided to trial both Legend Light Pink and Costa Silver. And I really liked both of them. They were really, really useful in my bouquets this year. So I think the difference is prior to that, to this season, almost all the snapdragons, with the exception of the Orleans, what's it called again? Orleans, let me look on here, Early Lemon. With the exception of that one, all the other snapdragons that I have trialed have been dark in color, and they haven't worked with how I want to do a bouquet, much the same way I didn't really like Arabian Nights, the decorative small deep red dahlias. Too dark to be used in the bouquets the way I put bouquets together. But the Legend Light Pink and the Costa Silver are pale, and I loved using them. The only thing that I wish I had was more than Costa Silver for the fall, because I had taken out the other two snapdragons to make room for sunflowers, because I honestly didn't know if I was going to want to use them in the fall or not, and I loved using them in the fall. So in this first bouquet, you can see I've got the Legends Light Pink and the Orleans Early Lemon paired with Bridal Veil Astilbe. In this bouquet, you can see I've got Legend Light Pink Costa Silver and Orleans Early Lemon paired with a few different colors of yarrow. Oh, the bouquet with the Astilbe was made on June 26th. The yarrow bouquet, the yarrow bouquet was made on June 26th. And then this bouquet was made on August 31st and shows the second flush of the Costa Silver coming out the sides with an AC Ben dinner plate dahlia, more in the center, some white light sunflowers, snow puff, and rose bonbon double click cosmos, as well as laurel leaves. And then here you can see the Costa Silver Snapdragon paired with the, I love how it looks with the snowberries, red lemon sunflower, and there's a labyrinth dinner plate dahlia in there, as well as laurel leaves. And that particular bouquet was taken on September 11th. And then here we are on October 17th. I'm still getting not a lot of snapdragons. I'm just getting a few here and there. I may only get one day and 3 on another day. On the rainy days, really heavy rainy days, none, but then you'll get a stretch of a few days like we're going to get now. Today through the next 3 days we'll have sun, so I'll be getting a few more snapdragons again. And here, like I said, this was taken on October 17th, and it's paired with Spartacus dinner plate dahlias, a red lemon sunflower, an orange sunflower, dried Astilbe, and dried poppy pods, and it looks like maybe a snow princess dahlia in there as well. It has that nice different texture with its sort of spiky form. Even though the autumn sunflowers, or pardon me, snapdragons aren't very spiky, they kind of, the spike, let's say in the spring, if it's this long, it's only about this long in the autumn, so it's quite a bit shorter. But I love it. Oops. Snapdragons are no longer going to be on my list of flowers not to grow anymore because I just loved using them. Now I showed you this bouquet earlier with the pumpkin in it. If you didn't see this video, how I DIY'd a stem for my pumpkin in this bouquet and how I made this bouquet, I think it's a really good video. It's very limited in the number of people that this would interest, because you can't have gone through your frost yet by the time you're using pumpkins in bouquets. But if you can still have bouquets with pumpkins in them before your frost, you should really check this video out here. See you next week. Oh, and if you haven't already, don't forget to like it. Thanks. Bye.